This is Everglades, a 5-hectare National Trust property at Leura in the Blue Mountains just outside of Sydney. It's one of our great showcase heritage gardens, and one of its unique features is the way that incredible views like this have been incorporated into the design. Everglades was built in the 1930s by Belgian-born businessman Henri van der Velde as, believe it or not, a weekend retreat. The garden was created by the legendary Blue Mountains designer Paul Sorensen. From the main gate, 6 terraces step down to the level of the house, and the whole hillside landscape is a testament to new design ideas of the time, particularly the emphasis on hard landscape elements and the creation of separate garden rooms.
The best thing about the garden is the way the views have been used sparingly. They could have opened the views up from every angle, but they haven't, and you get that wonderful garden surprise.
Guy McElrath is the head gardener at Everglades.
This garden, when you look around it, you can see there are key Paul Sorensen traits. They did a tremendous amount of earthwork on the property, and you've got an exotic garden built on the edge of some beautiful, pristine nature. This is an interesting part of the garden, Angus. This was formerly Henri van der Velde's swimming pool, and it's now been converted into what we call the reflection pool. We've actually filled the pool in and put a liner in it, for safety reasons of course, and we now dye the water black, and it forms a great reflection, especially for something like this beautiful Mount Fuji cherry we've got here. We've actually grabbed a branch from somewhere else on the property and utilised it to sort of support that beautiful old bough there. Probably one of the original plantings in the ground. Paul Sorensen brought a lot of plants in from all around the world in the creation of this garden.
This is a magnificent example of the garden room concept.
Yes, it is. This is known as the cherry terrace down here, and you can see we've got some beautiful weeping cherries. We've got some of the original cherries still here.
And these are actually weeping standards, aren't they?
Yeah, this is Prunus cross subhirtella pendula, and it's been grafted onto the standard cherry at 2.2 metres.
I have to say, these dry stone walls are something I've fallen in love with, so you might want to check my pockets on the way out. But on a serious note, what is the story of their construction?
Well, these walls were constructed back in the 30s when the gardens were created, dry stone walls, and I think the true testament to the walls is they're still standing here today. They look as if they could have been put in 5 years ago. They're straight as an eye.
And the holes in the wall, what's their function?
The holes in the wall are there for drainage, but they're also utilised for planting. These junipers here form a sort of a floating hedge, and they would have been planted into the wall during the construction, so as they came up to the level that we're at there, that's probably when the plant went in, and then the wall was constructed up above them.
Down below the house, the transition from formal garden to rugged Blue Mountains bushland is perfectly illustrated by the grotto pool, which, despite its natural appearance, is a masterpiece of naturalistic landscaping.
They've actually excavated the area down below us here to form the grotto pool, and they took out quite an amount of rock and soil back in the 30s when they created it, and this stone that we're standing on here was placed in to lock it to form the pool. Then they've bricked around this in certain areas, so it's formed a lovely pool about 3 to 4 metres deep.
But what they've done though is retain a habitat really for all the native vegetation here.
Yeah, I think a lot of the endemic species have come back and sort of stabilised in the area too. We've got a few exotics down here, but yeah, it looks very natural, and it's a very special part of the garden. It's not very much of a step either, is it, from this area out into the bush out there.
This garden is a magnificent reminder of a bygone era. But what's truly inspirational is the energy and vision that enabled such a beautiful formal garden to be created on a scale that matches its wild mountain setting.
If if you want to know more about Everglades, Angus has written an article in the October edition of the Gardening Australia magazine. And if you'd like to know more about veggie gardens, orchids or even chooks, why don't you come along to the Gardening Australia Expo at the Caulfield Racecourse next week? We'd love to see you all there. And if you'd like more details, check out the website. And if you want to know what's on next week's show, here's a sample. Jane has a good look around one of my favourite